welcome to BomiChess. Today we have another game from 19th century, and it's played between Prince Dadiani and unknown player. And Prince Andrei Davidovich Dadiani was born in today's Georgia. He was prince of the western province in Georgia, and he was born in 1850. And he spent his youth in Europe, and he went to law school in Germany, and he finished his law university at the age of 23, so in 1873. After that, he served in the Russian army, and he was a big lover of chess. He loved chess. He was an amateur player, but we're not sure how strong he was. He was a pretty decent player, probably, but many of his games were so interesting that maybe they're not really true games. Maybe they were composed beforehand, but nevertheless they're interesting. And he organized some tournaments. He organized first tournament in Kiev in 1900, and he also organized second and third all-Russian tournament in Kiev in 1902 and 1903. So he was a good player. He even won second place in the first tournament in Kiev. So okay, his games are very interesting. We have many games today that he played, supposedly. We're not sure. But this one is from 1892, from unknown player. Prince was white and the other player was black. So let's see how the game go. Prince opens with e4, we have e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and bishop to c4. So we have Italian game, and knight to f6, so two knights defense. And here Prince strikes in the center with this pawn to d4. Okay, his opponent took the pawn, and the prince castle kingside. So after this, the knight took this pawn on e4, and here rook is attacking and pinning this knight to the king. So prince defended with a pawn to e5, and now we have this bishop takes this pawn. So bishop sacrifice, but he's going to get his piece back soon. So okay, queen took the bishop, and now this knight to c3, attacking the queen and attacking the knight as well. Knight cannot take it because it's pinned, and if this pawn tries to take the knight, now we can simply take the queen. It's not good for black. So okay, this knight is not attacked in reality, so here black played queen to c4, and white took this knight on e4. He got his piece back, and here black simply defends this check with playing bishop to e6, and he's also developing his piece, and he's trying to queenside castle, and white doesn't want to allow that, so he played bishop to g5. He still wants to keep this king in the middle of the board. So black is going to play here bishop to c5. He couldn't take this knight still because it's still pinned to the queen. So this rook can simply take the queen. So okay, black here played this bishop to c5, and white attacked the queen with knight to d2, attacking the queen. So we still cannot take this knight, of course, because of the pin, and the queen is attacked. So queen goes to a6, and now white played this knight to b3, and here black could actually take the knight. But if you take the knight, now knight takes bishop and is attacking this queen. And after that we have all sort of attacks here. If queens go, for example, to b5, now we have this queen check. And this bishop cannot take the queen because it's pinned to the king. So if the king tries to move, now we have this check. Check, takes bishop on e6. If pawn takes, now we have this rook to f4 check. And now what to do? If king moves here, this is checkmate. So the only other move is queen to f5, but now rook simply takes it, and after this, white is in big advantage. He's going to win the game. So black didn't go for this. He didn't take this knight here, but he played bishop to b6 instead. So he's retreating his bishop, and he's also guarding this square. And here white played this knight to d5. So this bishop is pinned, so it cannot take the knight. And knight is threatening this bishop and the pawn here as well if bishop moves. So black here tries to attack this dark square bishop, which was a mistake. White didn't pay attention to this. He attacks with the knight to c5. And now the problem for black here, the queen is attacked, as well as white bishop, light square bishop. But if this bishop tries to take the knight, now we have this fork. Knight takes this pawn on c7, attacking the queen, so you check, and also attacking the queen, attacking the king and the queen. So black cannot afford to take this knight. And here black simply moved the queen to b5. And now white see that he has some tactics here, and he played this rook takes bishop on e6. So now if this pawn tries to take the rook, this queen goes to h5, check. If black tries to play this pawn to g6, now this leads to checkmate very soon. Check. All these squares are defended by white pieces, so king must go to f8, and after this simple check. Knight takes on x6, for example, this is checkmate, or even knight to d7 is a checkmate. So black cannot play this pawn to g6, but he needs to move his kings. But if he moves his king, for example, to the only square actually f8, now we have still this knight here check, and after this we have this knight to f6 check. And here black doesn't have any more squares to go with his king, and if he needs to take this knight, he take the knight with the pawn, and now this queen to g6 checkmate. So black is not allowed here to take this rook, and he played this king to f8. But after this, white continues with his attack. Knight to d7 check. This square is defended by the rook, so king must go to g8. And after this, you can see that many white pieces are hanging. But white finds the best move here, and the move is queen to g4. So now he's preparing to checkmate black's king. If black here tried to take, for example, this knight, now this is very bad because this tactic. Knight to f6 check. If black decides to capture this knight, now you have simple, this bishop takes on f6, and there is no preventing white for checkmating, or you can give up your queen. If king goes here, this is a checkmate. If king goes to h7, the same checkmate. But if you try to prevent this, you're now giving up the queen, and here white is simply going to win the game. So okay, you cannot take this knight, but if you try to take the rook, for example, if you take the rook here, now there's a little bit more complex checkmate. Queen takes, and now this is defended by the knight, so king must go to h7. But now we have this check. This is defended by the queen and the knight, so king must, if king tried to take this knight, now this is a checkmate right away. So black king must go to g6, but after this we have this check, knight to f4 check. So all squares are protected, so this king must take this bishop. And after this another sacrifice, pawn to h4 check. And now if the king tries to take this pawn, this is checkmate right away. But king must take the knight. And after taking the knight, we have this beautiful checkmate. Queen to e4 checkmate. This is protected by the pawn. So a little bit longer variation, but we can still see that it leads to checkmate. So here black cannot take the rook, but he rather played this pawn to h5. And it's trying to get rid of this queen, but this move leads to checkmate in 3 moves. And white here sees that checkmate, so if you want to try to find that checkmate in 3 moves, you can pause the video and try to find it. Good luck. So okay, I hope that you were able to find it, and the first move is knight to f6 check. So now this king has no place to go to, no squares available, so he must take this knight. And after takes the knight on f6, now we play with the bishop. We want to give the check to the black's king, but we don't take this pawn. It would be a mistake. This is nothing, but rather bishop to h6 check. And now okay, first we see that this queen is given the check. So if king moves, for example, here, this is a checkmate right away. So we must take the queen, right? Pawn takes the queen, but now we have this beautiful knight takes on f6 checkmate. Bishop is guarding this diagonal, and this is guarded by the knight, and knight is also given the check. So this is a checkmate. And the only option left is if black tries to block the check with a queen here, but here we don't take the queen, but we rather play this knight takes on f6, the same checkmate. Queen is pinned to the king, so it cannot take this knight, and king has no squares to go. So the way that the game ended is actually this one. After this, black took the queen on g4, and here white played this knight to f6 checkmate. So this was today's game. We're not sure were it actually the real game, or were it just composed beforehand and then played, but anyway, it was an interesting one. I hope that you enjoyed it, and let me know in the comments did you like it, and I'll see you in the next game. Bye!